Welcome to a more just and merciful world. I'm Kathy Humphrey, president of Carlow University. On this podcast, we talk to leaders, teachers, artists, historians, and scientists from around the globe to explore how to bring more justice and mercy to our own world. Today, I am honored to have with us Kent and Erica Chevalier. And I'm so excited to have both of you with me because your story is, I believe, pretty incredible and a wonderful story that I believe will inspire many because of the experiences that you have. And both of you have had a very interesting trajectory together, which is not always common for a married couple to have such a similar work experience as the two of you have had. So I want to jump right in and have you talk a little bit about the work. You are chaplains for the Steelers, and you work directly with the team, and you work with the wives. Is that right, Erica? So this must be a pretty exciting job. Do you travel with them?
Yes, I have the privilege of being able to travel with them. So wherever they are, I basically go when it's during the season. And as soon as training camp hits, I'm up at St. Vincent College with them. And while I'm doing that, Erica's meeting all of the ladies who are coming with the guys.
Wonderful.
So yeah, we're with them, especially when the season starts, really in the trenches with them.
Yeah, so it must be really fun when they win and a bummer when they lose, is it?
Well, absolutely. All of these.
It's got to be your fault because you're the chaplain. You were supposed to pray about it.
That's right. I prayed to run away or something. God didn't answer the way that I wanted.
Which is a great lesson in life, isn't it? We don't always get everything that we want. So I want to talk with both of you today. I don't really believe that. Let me just put that out there because, I want to get that on here.
Yeah, that's right.
I want to talk to you, this is, as you heard me say at the start, Carlow is an institution that is committed to creating more justice, more mercy in the world. And there's so many parallels with what you do. And Erica, you work directly with one of our faculty members around human trafficking, and both of you have worked with young people. You started your career working to improve the lives of young people, and I'm really excited about that because that's the work that we do here, not of just young people, but of people in general. And so I want you just to begin by telling us a little bit about how did you make the decision to do this work, and how are you two bringing more justice and mercy to the world?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for having us on. This is a real privilege to be with you, so we appreciate that. So when we were talking about this, we've got a lot of these marker moments where you step out in faith and you're trusting the Lord that he's guiding you and your work and what you're about. So that starts for us when we met together at Geneva College. And then very quickly, when we got married after school, we jumped into student ministry together. And 10 years of student ministry and then 12 years of ministry in the local church context as pastor. And so we have these moments along the way where God has challenged us to step into things that are pretty messy, things that would be stretch opportunities, that would stretch our faith in certain ways. And so, one for Erica is when she met Dr. Mary Burke and established something in our local church context that then spread out called the Justice Team. So she can talk about that. But then, yes, this role that we jumped into with Athletes in Action to serve the Pittsburgh Steelers as their chaplain. So I'm the chaplain to all the guys. She's the chaplain to all the ladies. And that required quite a faith jump for us from the local church context to then being chaplains in the business of the NFL. So, yeah, there's a lot of risks that we have taken in our almost 26 years of marriage together where we're just trusting the Lord and holding on for the ride. So,
yeah. So interesting you say messy. So we often define mercy is being willing to walk in the chaos of others. Pretty messy.
Yeah.
Right? I'm very interested to hear a lot more about what do you do when you get in that mess.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, you can talk about it, what God did in your life in embracing that messiness.
Yeah, I mean, it was probably 2008 back in the day when I experienced a documentary about human trafficking. And I remember walking out of that film having no pretext to what I was about to see, but walking out of that film and literally verbally saying the words, if this is true, if this is really happening, somebody has got to do something about this, right? I didn't mean me, by the way. I just meant somebody needs to do something about this. And remembering back to my high school years where I remember having just a pull because it had been modeled in my life for serving people and coming alongside people wanting to ease injustices that were happening. But I had a way in my teens and 20s that I thought that would look like, right? Which some of us sometimes do. We kind of picture like, this might be the way that I do it. And when I always say God allowed my heart to be wrecked over this issue of human trafficking, but it wasn't what I would have chosen to step into. I mean, it's monstrous and pure evil. And yet, as I stepped into that chaos, as I stepped into that messiness, not knowing, not feeling equipped, not feeling like I remember having conversations with Kent, like if this is what I sense God is saying as a part of what I'm supposed to step into, like I'm not equipped. I'm not a licensed counselor. I don't work in law enforcement. Like I'm an accountant by trade. What am I supposed to do here? And yet in stepping in and taking that bold step of faith, trembling as I stepped into, I'm going to do a little research here. I'm going to see you locally. Is this really happening?
That's good. Erica is the researcher of all researchers. She read every book on the top. And she like researched on the internet. Where is this happening? And that's what led you to Dr. Mary.
Because at that point, everyone was saying that I was talking to is this isn't happening here in Pittsburgh here yet. This isn't happening. But then I met Dr. Mary Burke, who is an amazing woman.
Yes.
Really spearheading at that point the project End Human Trafficking.
Yeah.
I watched her from afar initially and then got to up close witness the things that she was doing. She was forming a network. She was figuring out ways to resource. She saw gaps in care and was finding ways to initiate that. And then throughout that journey was able to step into a few of those things with her and coordinate resources for people locally. But it was at kind of watching her example of how she was doing things and realizing, okay, maybe I can do this. I might not be able to. She's, amazing, brilliant woman.
Yes, she is.
I'm not trained in that way, but there are things that I can do. There are spheres of influence that I have and a platform that I have that I can start.
It has been wild to watch as she took those steps that as God opened doors,
Right.
and has established what's called the Justice Team and a network of churches and nonprofit organizations that when there is a victim of human trafficking in the city of Pittsburgh, that Erica can make a phone call or write an email, and within minutes, that answer, those
Really mobilize hundreds of people who also want to make a difference and don't know how. Right?
Yes.
So in the messiness of not understanding how can I contribute, we are able to mobilize them in ways where people can shop off of an Amazon list. They can.
And even though we've jumped now from, so I was a local pastor, Northway Christian Community, and that's where you saw that documentary. Even though we've jumped now from staff, being on staff with Northway, the justice team still goes on at Northway. Erica still oversees, but there are people who are leading that effort, and Erica is almost more of an advisor now that we're in this role with Athletes in Action. So
That's just amazing. I mean, you're at the epitome of what I hoped for every student here, and that is that you realize you've been given a much, and to whom much is given, much is required, and you are committed to making a difference, even though you didn't really know specifically how. What you did know was how to learn. And that is an enormous gift that we take for granted that you initially said, I'm not equipped, but the equipping is not always just natural.
Right, right.
You know, we have to, I believe that God provides us the resources to become equipped. And that equipment has caused you to make a difference in so many people's lives, if nothing else, but to make them aware that this is real, right? And so I just want to just thank you for doing the work that you all are doing on that front, because it is real, and it's just like Pittsburgh is like everywhere else. We don't get jumped over with some of these situations and circumstances. Let me go in another direction for just a minute. One of the things that I have down here, that it says your ministry is about embracing the fear of the unknown, so that people can jump into their God-given purpose. And Erica, I think that's what you've done. You jumped into your own God-given purpose. Purpose is, I think, really, really important, especially not just for students who are in higher education, but for people in general. It is why I believe so many people don't have joy, is because they don't have purpose. Talk to me a little bit about what you do to help them embrace the fear. Clearly, Erica, you had to embrace the fear, right? Well, what do you do to help people embrace the fear of trying to deal with the unknown? I always say, here, Carlo, I want students to know who they are and what they're supposed to do with whom they are, right? And because I believe that's some of the greatest gifts that you can give them. So much so that one of our faculty member, Stephen Comey, has just gotten a grant to provide a sophomore year experience where we're going to take students away to look at who are you and what are you supposed to do with who you are. Because if you leave here knowing those two things, we've done more than educate you. We've set you on a course in life really to accomplish that purpose, which is going to lead you to joy.
Yeah.
Right?
I think that I want to go on that trip. Can you?
I would love to get in touch with I will get you in touch with Steve. Yes.
Yeah, because I think it's a lifelong chase. God continues to show us just enough light for us to take the next right step, and it's a constant surrender for who it is that He says we are, and I know that in Christ who I am. As I abide in Christ and I get close to Him, He defines who I am. And then He gives me certain assignments. And so this idea of doing it afraid, jumping into your God-given purpose, there are times where I believe that God will mess you up on the inside until you step into that new thing that He's calling you to do. And so this has been a series of steps, of jumps for us as early in our ministry, we jumped out to plant a church. It failed wonderfully. We learned so much, but I think that the point was, will you obey and will you do what I'm telling you to do? Because success is not a paycheck. It's not a certain position. Success is, am I going to do what God tells me to do? When I do that, those stretch opportunities, because I don't know what's coming. I don't know what I'm getting myself into. So this jump into the NFL, to serve the NFL with Athletes in Action, this was a huge jump for us. We did not know what we were getting into, but it was definitely clear that God was telling us. See, I don't believe that God asks. God tells, and therefore we have to obey. So when we jumped like this, there was fear all over it. How are we going to provide for our family as missionaries? What does that look like? Because we have to raise 100% of what it is, that our salaries, benefits, our ministry budget. How are we going to do this? We have 3 daughters together, staring college in the face and weddings. Like at the time of this recording, 3 weeks from now, our first daughter's getting married. And
wow.
we have 3 of them. So
Got 3 of those weddings.
Just going, God, I don't know if this is wise. Like, are you for real here? Because, and so I was afraid to jump into that.
Yeah.
But when we knew that we would be disobedient if we did not do this, that's where it clicked for us. And we realized, okay, we're going to do this afraid.
Yeah.
And together.
Yeah.
That unity has to be possible. Because otherwise, if it's just one person going into the story, that's
So, so both of you have used this phrase, kind of mess me up, right? And we live in a world where people don't want to be messed up, right? And
We don't want to be messed up, but we are messed up.
but we are
Yeah, exactly.
right, and so much so that we've put so many titles around the being messed up, right? To a point where we believe that we should never feel those messy feelings, right? Because they're uncomfortable. How do you get comfortable with the mess?
That's a great question. I think you got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. I mean, that's what faith is, right?
Right.
It's the evidence of the things that we cannot yet see. And we're going to trust God that he's got the best for us. And his definition of best is way better than what we can come up with.
So it's a faith walk.
Absolutely.
And the faith walk is what allows you the peace to continue to keep walking in the midst of the mess.
That's right.
Because we see like the things that God has already done. We see the people that we got to intersect our worlds with that we would not have,
Yes.
would not have stepped out. We've learned so many things from people along the way in leadership, people we've gotten to walk alongside that maybe were in really messy situations,
Right.
but impacted our own personal hearts and lives, right?
Right.
Because we're like, wow, I never saw this side of the world. I never saw this.
And I think that God will mess you up on the inside. He will not provide that peace until you step into what it is that he's telling you to do. And when you begin to have that kind of courage to step into the mess, meaning I see a need, I'm going to meet that need, but I don't know if I have enough faith that this is going to be, is this the right choice? Is this the right thing? But when we step into that, I believe that courage is on the other side of that obedience to what he's telling us to do. And he will help us. He will provide for us along the way. We've seen that in our lives, the right resources, the right people, the right connections. Exactly. That God, this moment of trying to step into this calling.
Yeah.
And I'm going, God, I don't know how I'm going to provide for our family. It was this moment where I realized that, wait a second, God's the provider for my family. That job is already taken. I just got to take that step of obedience.
Oh, that's good.
And God will, be with us in this entire adventure.
Right. I don't want people to walk away from here, especially because a lot of young people listen to this podcast. I don't want people to walk away believing that you can just, you kind of sit back and let God do it. Because that's not how it works.
That's
right. One of the scripture I quote to my children when they were growing up, you don't work, you don't eat. Right. That's just how it works. Right.
That's right.
That, of course, then I was talking about their rooms. But at this point in juncture, on a bigger scale, really and truthfully, the walking is the working. And so you have to start working towards that faith. And I think that's what you're talking about is you're saying that you have to start moving in that direction and be willing for the course correction and knowing the course correction oftentimes comes. Let me move to another topic.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I heard you say, Erica, that, we've got to be on one accord on this risk taking. And so you guys have been married for 26 years, which I think is phenomenal, wonderful, great. But you've been through a lot. I know as a person who's been married for almost 40 years this year, that means you've done a lot of work. What I loved reading in your bio, though, is that you said that your marriage is an instrument, I'm paraphrasing you, for the work that you're doing to meet your calling. So it's not just about being married to each other. You're married to each other for a greater purpose. Will you talk about that for a minute?
Get it?
Like,
I mean, also,
where did it start?
all right,
That's
so
like,
this woman is amazing, right? And so you look at me and you feel really bad for her because look at this. But we see marriage as team. Everything about us is team. And so you have led because it's a partnership, and there are things that you're gifted at that I'm just not gifted at. So you take the lead in that moment. There's things that I'm gifted at that, okay, you will then support. But yeah, everything about us is team. So go ahead.
And well, let me come in here for just a second. Give you some more time to think here. I do think that's huge. That in a day where people are not considering marriage, right, as a real option, the benefit that you just talked about, that there's more power in two, right? The benefit of the coming together brings two talents
yes.
into a circumstance. And if you can use those both talents as exploit them sufficiently, then the two of you become greater. And I just don't want to miss what you just said, because I think it's so very powerful. And it also takes some of the nonsense out of the relationship as well, when you're not both trying to do the same things, one which you're not called to do and one which you are called to do.
I think it's learning. So this relationship is constantly growing, ebbing, and flowing. There were seasons of our life where Kent was on purpose for a certain thing, and I was home with the kids, and that was my purpose, and that was fulfilling, and then there were seasons as our girls started getting older, that I'm stepping out, and now we get this amazing benefit of being able to do things together around purpose together. But I think it's this ongoing learning, growing. I have to have ears to hear what he has to say. I have to be able to quiet my own thoughts and opinions and actually not just listen, but actually hear him, because a lot of times, the majority of times, he's actually right. And what we
Hey,
Oh, that's really good.
I'm glad this is being recorded.
I'm gonna play back to this in the future.
That's right.
But in all truth and honesty, like being able to learn, it is a partnership, but it's a team, and how much greater two people on purpose together in unity. Because when things go well, we're celebrating together, and we're like, this was it, this was awesome, look. And yet times when things don't go well, because that's part of life too, right? Things fall apart, things crumble, and we have each other to say, okay, we thought this is what we were supposed to do, or step into a messy situation, and this unraveled in a way we didn't have, but we have each other to process through that. Okay, what did we learn? What can we do different next time? So the power of the two, as you're referencing as well, is so much greater than the power of the one.
I will often joke around as I talk about marriage, and I do public speaking and things. I will say that Erica, for me, that the Holy Spirit sounds a lot like Erica. Because she is so in tune with who God is and his ways, his character, his mission, that I'm a big visionary guy. I like to dream and all this, but she will sometimes come in and say, okay, hold up. I see that direction that God can be taking us, but there's timing here. And so she might be the, governor of time, that she speaks that wisdom into that type of decision.
Maybe it's just a not yet.
Yeah, not yet type of thing. And we just want to be, in our current role, to come alongside the incredible men and women of the Steelers. We just want to be an example of what, and we have a good marriage, strong marriage, 26 years. And I say that in all humility, because God being central to our marriage, we just want to be a good example of what marriage can look like in our culture today, as you fight for each other and then you fight together with whatever assignment God has given to you. And so we just want to do that, especially for the young men and women that we have the privilege to serve.
And when you struggled because you don't get to be married 26 years without some kind of struggle. How did you, we oftentimes think about this as just kind of a more merciful world, but I think relationships are the place where mercy is really needed. How did you get past the difficulty of the formulation of the relationship? How did you get past the hard stuff that happens in every relationship if it's going to sustain?
Well, I think you have to in order to have any sort of public influence, right? If your personal life is in shambles, it is really hard to have any sort of influence out in the community. And so that was something we fought for. It's something that we continue to. I'm losing my train of thought here. I hadn't thought.
No, it's good. I think for us, what helped us get on the other side of it, to recognize that marriage is really hard. It's the hardest thing that you'll ever do, right? And to have godly mentors that were about 10 years ahead of us. We've always had that, whether that be in Pittsburgh here at our church, maybe the elders of our church, or it's been outside, Dave and Cheryl, who are in Nashville, our mentors there. They've spoken, and we've given permission for them to speak into our marriage. So if you see us off, if you see us being fake, then call us out.
That's good.
Right, and give them permission.
That's really good.
And then I also think another big thing is to be incredibly quick. Like, I need time how I process when we get into a fight. And so just last week, right, when we get into a fight like this, okay, I got to recognize, I got to be quick to apologize, quick to forgive, quick to, but I know I also need time to process what it is that I just did or what I said. So I don't know if that makes sense, but quick to forgive.
I think that is really an important recipe for a good marriage, is that you've got to forgive and got to realize that, hey, this person has my best interest at heart because this is my life partner. I'm going to step it back to fear again. Because in order to create a more just and merciful world, you've got to be able to manage fear. Joyce Myers, someone who I enjoy listening to, says that fear is false evidence appearing to be real. Yeah. And I'm going to talk about that from the standpoint of there's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now. And there's a lot of fear in our world right now. Can you talk a little bit about what do you say to those people who are trying to manage the fear of what's happening in our whole world, right? Because our lives have been kind of turned upside down a bit, right? What's your thoughts?
Yeah.
Our money's not as good as it was. It's, even for me to look at my 401 and think, oh my Lord, what is happening here, right? I do think, what you said before, I was thinking about that song, Jehovah Jireh, right? To remember what your provider is. How do you really every day manage the fear that's stopping you from really making the difference that you can make if you can get over the fear?
Well, because the fear can take you out and paralyze you and really keep you from moving forward. I mean, just a very simple, practical way for me is actually going back to what are the ways in which I've seen in my life God provide. When we start to think about the things in our lives that we have so much to be thankful about, it starts to shift that.
And I think
managing the what ifs, I love that. Yes.
Yeah, I think especially if there's young adults who are watching this and listening to this, because that's who we work with, is 21 to 20 somethings, and we will talk often about how in our generation today, what's coming across our screens and what we're scrolling, we don't know what to believe. We don't know what's real. AI generated, people's mouths are moving, but it's not actually their words. It's their voice, but it's not their words.
Yes.
So the thing that I've been saying to this generation, which is our daughters, by the way, is please don't take anybody's word for it. You have to take God's word for it. And this is the importance of, as we are people of faith, that we dig our noses, our hearts, our eyes into the scriptures themselves and take Jesus' words for it. Take God's word for it, because that's where the truth is. And as our barometer, as this is what I'm looking to, whatever's on my screen that might be causing me anxiety or depression, I come back to the source of truth. And I look at him and I say, okay, you're bigger than whatever's calling me or causing me anxiousness. You're bigger than whatever's causing me fear. So if those talking heads, as I scroll through, okay, they're saying things, but you know what? There's a higher truth. His name is Jesus, that I'm going to anchor myself in. That's where I have peace. That's where I can find my identity, that no matter what a government is going to say, no matter what my stock is going to plummet or rise, who is the steady? His name is Jesus, and that's where I stay. He's my anchor of peace.
So, as you think about this generation, and I was sitting here when you said that you worked with 20-year-olds, and that I thought, I guess that is the age of the UFL football players. I don't think about them being that young, but they are that young. And when you think about working with that generation, and you think about how do I inspire them to get into the mess, to find their purpose, how do you lead them in that direction for the work that they are doing, whatever that work might be? When you think about the spouses who are that age as well, trying to figure out their life. This trying to figure out your life is tough to do, right? And it probably one of the most challenging things in our lives is to figure out, what the heck am I supposed to do? What do you say to that?
Yeah, one of the things that we love to do, so we've got a process that as people come to Pittsburgh who are brand new to this city, they're playing for the Steelers, we love to introduce them to the mess. So what I mean there is we introduce them to incredible ministries in the city of Pittsburgh who are doing the hard work on the streets, who are doing the hard work with kids. So for instance, an example would be, we love to partner with Light of Life Rescue Mission and to take these, incredibly large men, right? These professional athletes. And then when you get them uncomfortable by serving meals to the homeless, something changes, right? When people walk through the doors of Light of Life Rescue Mission, something changes on the inside. And that's what we like to do. And it is, we just invite them into that kind of a mess. Same thing with whatever their passion might be, because we're Pittsburghers, and we've grown up in ministry, if you will, in this city. We know people who are probably, they're doing something in ministry that meets that young man's or that young woman's passion. So if they want to work with kids, we're introducing them to Urban Impact Foundation and Pittsburgh Kids Foundation. So we're a connector to the mess.
So what I think I hear you saying is that if you can get above yourself, and serve other people, your situation begins to diminish.
Absolutely.
And you're able to think more clearly about direction because of your commitment to serving others.
Yeah.
And I think too, sometimes, so for your students who obviously aren't a part of our ministry, but for your students, sometimes maybe it's just starting somewhere, right? Sometimes the need seems so overwhelming when we actually take a step back and we look at okay, there are millions of needs here in the city that we could come alongside. Well, pick one, try it. If it's not something that you're wired for or skilled for, maybe we can grow into that. Or you try something different. There are so many incredible organizations here in the city doing various different things. I don't think we always, like when I was young, I always thought I'd create something. And maybe that's for some of your students. Maybe they're going to create a new initiative,
Right.
do something different. But for some, maybe it's joining and partnering with someone who's already in that. They're running, they've figured out the potholes along the way, many potholes here in Pittsburgh, and they're running in that. So it could just be trying something, because I think one of the pitfalls we can fall into, or potholes we can fall into, is that we try and meet every need. Everything is, we do too much. So that's the flip side, right? Of someone who's just, they're trying to do too much, and recognizing there are people right in our circle of influence. And maybe we start there.
That's good.
Who's right there in front of us? What are the needs that are right there in front of us? Maybe this week I meet this need for a young single mom who has a small child who I know is really struggling. It's long days at home. And I offer to step in and sit with a kid and just be. Sometimes it's not even doing.
Right.
It's just being
That's
in that. And so I think that sometimes if we can, avoid that pothole of, oh, there's so much need, so we do too much or we don't do anything, we're paralyzed in that fear, but just start somewhere.
Yeah. Oftentimes I say to individuals I'm working with, every need is not your call. Yes. You got to understand which is yours.
You learn that though.
You learn that over time. It has been wonderful to talk to you. And I do believe that this conversation is a conversation that people need to hear. And I'm so grateful for the work that both of you are doing, to know the kind of impact that you're making with the team, the kind of impact that you are making on, women trafficking, and how important it is for both of these works to be completed. I'm grateful that there is a big work that has been given to you, and I know that God is faithful and that He's going to help you complete the calls that have been put on both your lives. So thank you for being with me today, and I hope we can figure out how to get you on that retreat with
That's right.
students. And I'm sure Mary Burke would be thrilled to know that you are still so invested in the work. Thanks again for being with us.
Thanks for having us.